anchor? What is something that keeps you steady, that keeps you grounded when you do maybe not, fulfill whatever you thought you were going to fulfill, or when literally when your knees hit the floor and you're just like, I just can't. So what's your anchor at that time?
Oh, that's such a good question. I have to say that just my belief in myself, that before I commit to anything, even if it's new, I'm fully aware that I could fail. Like it might not work. Someone might not listen. Someone might not buy. Someone might say something mean, all these things. But if I genuinely believe that it's going to help me, if I'm here and it can somehow get me here, or even if it's just here, then it's worth it. And so all my decisions, my anchor is, will this make me better than yesterday? Will this help me get to a new level of growth? Will this help me achieve a new sense of purpose? And most of the time, yes, because we have these feelings, these callings for a reason. We have these talents for a reason. We're here to help people and connect people to their own talents. And so I'm a big believer in like whatever you're feeling. And sometimes we have too many feelings. So like, but I have like 20 ideas. Which one do I start with? Yes. And I always just say, grab the lowest hanging fruit and then you can move your way up the tree.
Yeah.
My anchor is that I believe that it will help me get to the next level.
Yeah. And that's, I think, a beautiful gauge also. Is it going to make me better? And I think a lot of times we lose sight of that because we're not thinking about, is it going to make me better? But is it going to make us money? Like how you had said earlier, it's not about the money because that comes and goes. It ebbs and flows very quickly. And I think what really matters is you and your mindset. So the next thing I'm going to ask you actually is your tips on how to live a lifestyle that you love and building a business or a lifestyle centered around the lifestyle that you love. Any tips on that?
Oh, that's like a two-part question. I'd say if someone's looking to just, maybe they're like, I don't know what kind of lifestyle I even want. I would start saying like, create your structure. What do you want your mornings to feel like? Or what do you want them to look like? Do you wake up and you look out the window and you watch the sunrise with a cup of coffee? Do you sleep in? Do you go for a run with your husband in the morning, like, or your partner? Like, what do you want your mornings to look and feel like? And then once you figure that out, what do you want your nights to look and feel like? I have very strong rituals for both that have just evolved with time because they made me feel good. It wasn't necessarily because that's what someone told me I should or shouldn't do. It's just like what made me feel good, what I wanted it to look like. If you were to look in someone's window, would you have FOMO about their lifestyle? And then you can figure out everything in between. That's the business part. And then when it comes to how do you design a business to give you a lifestyle you love, I'll give you an example. Recently, one of my students, she came in and she had like these amazing ideas when it comes to starting a bakery, and they all required different things. So we narrowed it down to 3. And then like one required a commercial kitchen, one required like a fleet of cars for delivery, and then one required like a food truck. But I know this person, her ultimate lifestyle is to be free and travel. And I asked her, I said, when in all of this, these 3 options, are you going to be able to have that freedom? Because to have a commitment of a fleet of cars or a food truck, it's figuring out where you play your part in this and to ensure that it's actually going to give you the lifestyle you love. Because what a lot of entrepreneurs do is they go in there, they get their money, and then they build a cage, they build their own box, and they don't have a lifestyle they love. They have a lifestyle they want to escape from. And that's not why we're doing it. And so I'd say the first part is create your own structure. And then the second is really think about your why that supports this lifestyle and then design your business around that.
I love that. I'm like thinking about my own business now.
Honestly, it's good food for thought.
I mean, I think it's so impressive that you've just shifted into the coaching aspect. And now I was reading on your website itself, and it said that Franceska means free one. And it's so beautiful that you're helping others develop a lifestyle that is freeing, that is allowing them to live in the way that they want to live, but yet earn income and money and provide for themselves and their family. So I think that is just so beautiful. I know that a lot of people don't believe that entrepreneurship is for them, but I know you have a different belief on that. Can you share with us what you think on that?
Absolutely. So I'll never forget, and by no means was I very close with either one of my parents, but I'll never forget a phrase that my dad told me once, that he said, Francesca, there's 2 types of people. There's employers and employees. And I just thought, well, that's just not possible. That's very discriminatory. But it makes sense because like I could never really imagine being an employee again after being an employer. And it's not that one is better than the other. This is another thing that I think last year it really came out that it was like trendy to be an entrepreneur. And if you weren't an entrepreneur and successful, then you were like a loser, basically. And I think entrepreneurialism kind of got a bad rep because of that. So it's ultimately really, what is it that you love doing? What is your strength? Do you want this freedom? Some people don't, and that's perfectly okay. Some people love being somebody's number two. Like my best friend, she's like, I would never want to do my own thing. Everyone's personality is different. But if you do have that inkling to go out on your own, it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be so exclusive. It literally is just, if you can show up for yourself, which you probably have up until this point, or you wouldn't be here, and you're ready to put in the hard work because you truly believe in whatever it is that you want to do, and you can figure out how to make money doing anything. I mean, especially in this day and age with the internet, especially everything that we have now at our fingertips in the digital world, how we're so connected.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurialism for me is for anybody who feels called to it.
I agree with you too. I think it's such a different mindset, and I come from an entrepreneurial family, and it's generational entrepreneurial. And I've fortunately married into one also, because I think if I hadn't, we might have had a little difference of mindset and thinking and approach to certain things. Not that one is bad or one is not bad or one is better or not, but it's just a different way of looking at stuff. Your lens is different. And I also cannot imagine myself working for a big law firm, or any law firm for that matter, just because I feel like I'm creating a brand that is so different from an ordinary law firm, but I'm getting so much out of it, like on a personal level. And I'm getting to help people who truly need help, and not just the big corporate companies that need help, but small businesses that make up our country and our community. They need help. And I'm so happy that I'm able to do that for them too, but in a way where you can embrace it. And
you have a feeling of purpose. You can still support your family. Money is, a lot of people look at money as like a good thing or a bad thing. It either gives you survival or it gives you too much. And money is really just a resource to get to your ultimate desire. So I remember when we first worked together in the floral design business, I really had never heard of a big corporate lawyer helping small businesses. In fact, when I first started, which was only a couple of years before that, I couldn't even figure out who could look at my contract without charging me like $1,000. And so I think what you're doing is, one, so helpful, two, so fulfilling, and three, like the money comes. But the money comes from everyone. And that's the great thing, is because then you become a facilitator for somebody else. So I love what you're doing. I'm so happy that you're doing it. So don't go anywhere.
I don't plan on it. I plan on being around for a while. So while we're talking about law, so let's talk about some law in your business.
Let's do it.
Tell us, where were you like, oh my gosh, I really wish I had done something about this with regards to law, that you had taken those steps beforehand, or you were in some situation you're just like, oh my gosh, I just wish. Honestly, it's like, I wish I'd taken care of this beforehand and not be this an afterthought.
I don't think I realized how quickly I grew and kind of how much I had exposed. But the one thing is my pet peeve is like problems. My number one strength is problem solving, but when there's a problem, I'm instantly honed in onto what the problem is and why it happened and how can I prevent it from happening again. And so there was two particular instances where I didn't feel protected from a client and I didn't feel protected from an employee. And that's when I thought, okay, I need to get someone in. I need to find the resources, get someone in and help me review my contracts. I had contracts, but they were like contracts from like a CRM system or a contract that I had found and kind of piecemealed together like all new entrepreneurs do. And just thought, I'll deal with that later when it happens. And then it happens and then you deal with it. So definitely having you as a resource was so helpful, because I remember there was a time I was renegotiating a contract. They redlined the entire thing and sent it back to me to change. And I was like, no, I'm not changing this because this doesn't protect me or my business. And I remember getting in a huge fight with my husband about this. And he was like, just take it, it's fine, it'll work out. And I'm like, it's not fine, because that would be irresponsible. I have employees that rely on this money. I rely on this money and these terms. I build my business based on the amount of clients I take every year. So it gave me, again, a sense of confidence. And I think this is so important for business owners to figure out what gives you confidence to stand up for what your worth is. And so I still won that contract. I didn't change a thing in that contract. And I went to bed every night knowing that we were covered. Everything was going to be fine. Now that I'm getting into a new business, I'm quickly seeing how much content is just ripped off.
Yes.
And it's kind of annoying. It's a bit of a free-for-all out there. So I will definitely be engaging in more services. I know you have so many resources out there already, but definitely legal. People don't realize how fast they grow and how quickly they need it. And so it should definitely be a priority, just like a bookkeeper.
Yeah, that's my whole goal with my practice also, is to make legal a line item and not a panic attack. Because honestly, because, when someone does steal something from you, because now you're coaching and you're creating all this content, and you have to also put out this content for free because you want people to understand what you're building and whether it resonates with them. But then a lot of people will just take it and make it their own and literally verbatim even copycat you. So that's a huge issue in the creative world, is copycats. So yes, that is something that you should definitely take care of from the front end and not after the problem, because it's tough. It's tough to take care of.
It's on my to-do list for sure. Yeah.
Well, you just started the business, so we can have a chat later on about that. And so with that segue, what are some challenges other than legal that you faced, or some that stand out, and how did you overcome them?
Definitely fear of losing money was a challenge. And I think that's like a challenge for a lot of people. And I overcame that by setting myself really strict budgets. So I remember when I first moved to Houston, I was a little fish in a pretty big established pond. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go in with a bang. I want people to know I'm here. And so I rented in I rented in the most exclusive neighborhood, and I set aside the rent money for that. And I thought, okay, you've got 6 months till it runs out. And if it runs out, then maybe you do something else. And so I didn't have that fear anymore, because I kind of like set myself a deadline. Now I'll tell you, the month before it ran out, I told a friend, I was like, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to have to close, and I'm so mortified. And was like, but I'm going to give it like a 30 extra day push. And I kid you not, I booked my first 6-figure client like 2 weeks later.
Amazing.
And so I think it's just that fear of money was a big challenge, but that's how I negotiated that. Legal was a challenge just because we're creators. We don't really think about what we need to protect, or that people would even want to hurt us, because they're not hurting us, but that anybody would have their best interest at mind, because we have ours at mind. Yeah. And probably the third thing is the challenge of thinking I could do it all. That, I do very well multitasking. I'm pretty on top of everything, but it does not give you the lifestyle you love, trying to do it all. But also, I'm not great at everything. I might be a 6 or a 7, or in some areas I might even be a 9, but in other areas I might be a 2. And so when I quickly started realizing either what my weaknesses were or what I really didn't like doing, and I could delegate that to somebody who did like doing those things or were really good at those things, my business thrived versus thrived.
I love that. So I'm going to do some rapid fire questions of fun facts. Okay. What's your favorite book?
It's 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. It's by Brianna West. And I literally read it every single night, like one page, and it is just so deep, so to the point. I love this book.
I am getting it. Can you get it on Amazon?
Oh yeah, that and Profit First.
What's your favorite magazine or blog?
Oh, probably Condé Nast. Travel.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, travel magazines are like awesome. They just take you to another world.
Yeah.
And then, what's your favorite biz tools, apps, or resources that you love? You can't live without.
I use Lightroom almost every day. That's for editing photos. And I love Zoom. I'm on Zoom almost every day. Yeah. And probably Instagram.
Yeah.
I hang out with people in my DMs more than I really want to admit.
Yeah. That's okay. So how can we find you? I know you said Instagram, but how can listeners and viewers who are just in love with your lifestyle and creating that brand, how can we find you?
Instagram, Franceska.McCaughan. That's it. And I've got YouTube and all the other things. But
I'm going to put all the links in the show notes so everybody can get access to you and find you. And, I've just had such a great time learning more about you and your journey.
Likewise.
And it was so inspiring to hear you speak.
Gosh, thank you.
And I mean, honestly, like having somebody like you as a cheerleader next to them and telling them you can do it is game changing. So I'm so excited to see where your coaching business takes you.
Me too, friend.